Hey, it's Sparky, Fifer, 1250 AM, The Fan in beautiful Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He is Ryan Horvat of BetMGM tonight. And, of course, Tailgate Kickoff. Catch Tailgate Kickoff Saturday mornings locally here in Milwaukee on 1250 AM, The Fan from 8 until 9 a.m. Get all of his picks for the weekend. And here's some great interviews along the way as well. Follow Ryan on Twitter at Ryan Horvat. You can follow me, of course, at Sparky Radio. And this Jonathan Taylor story is simply not going away. I just had Jason Hirschhorn on from the Leap newsletter, Packer newsletter that him and Peter Bukowski do, had him on Wednesday. And he was talking about the fact that he had originally thought that it was an agent leak. Ryan Wood of the Green Bay Press Gazette had reported that it was just a Packer scout talking with somebody from the Colts. That's all it was. Goody really didn't address it in his presser necessarily, just pretty much saying, hey, we check in on everybody, see what's going on, whatever. However, what I brought up on Wednesday to Hirschhorn and Ryan Horvat was, okay, so maybe it is nothing, but the fact that it's out, if you're Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, aren't you going, what the hell is going on? The season's about to start, and now we're trying to find somebody's replacement or whatever. And then, as Matt Schneidman reported of The Athletic, neither one was available for media after the practice on that day, Wednesday, when the story originally broke. And now yesterday, Thursday, comes the Josina Anderson report saying the Dolphins and Packers were both willing to make Jonathan Taylor the highest paid running back in the National Football League. It's not going away as of right now. So either Goody and whoever Ryan Wood is talking to is full of it, or the sources for Field Yates and Josina Anderson is Jonathan Taylor's agent or Jonathan Taylor or something along those lines, where they're getting one side and they're not actually talking to the personnel of Miami or Green Bay. Not quite sure, but for doing the exercise, let's just talk about, okay, let's just say this actually may happen. So the first question, Ryan Horvat, is, would you trade for Colts running back Jonathan Taylor if you were Gutekunst and the Green Bay Packers?
Okay, we're going to get into the financial stuff next and whatnot and fit, right?
Right.
We'll just Jonathan Taylor, the football player.
Jonathan Taylor, the football player. Would you want him if you're the Packers, knowing, again, he's 24. Aaron Jones is 29 with a year left at a stupid number that they're going to have to fix or do something with. And then A.J. Dillon, we know your thoughts on A.J. Dillon for the last couple of years. So those are your options.
Would I trade for Jonathan Taylor? I know I said on the last pod, yes, I thought about it. No, I would not trade for Jonathan Taylor.
Would not.
I would not trade for Jonathan Taylor. No, he's a running back. I know he's only 24 years old, but in 3 years, he's going to be 27 years old. And then he's going to be 28 years old. And like Delvin Cook's 27 years old, and he couldn't find a home for a month and a half, 2 months, and nobody wanted to pay him. So no, just because in the NFL, if you got a good offensive line, which that's what Green Bay's, they're built on. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of plug and play. I'd rather draft somebody in the 3rd or 4th round. I'd rather get the next Jonathan Taylor for a cheaper deal and find that next guy in the draft. Like, you see these running backs that are coming out of college now. It's not just Bijan and, the guys that are going in the 1st round, like Jahmyr Gibbs. They're really good. So I wouldn't actually, and I'll tell you why soon.
I would. I think I would, yes. Because he is 5 years younger than Aaron Jones. Obviously, that's part of it. You saw what he could be. Now, again, he had, what was it? I don't have the numbers up. I think it was 332 carries 2 years ago in 21. And then, of course, he was hurt in a majority of 22. But he had 18 touchdowns, 40 or 50 receptions, something along those lines. He did everything for the Colts. 300 carries. There's no chance he's going to get that many carries in Green Bay. Matt LaFleur will never allow that. He's never going to touch the ball that much. They'll have a second back like they do with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, and they're going to split carry. So he'll never be to that point. But he is more of a threat in my mind than Aaron Jones is as a running back. Like, if you're a defense, are you more concerned about Jonathan Taylor, the running back, or are you more concerned about Aaron Jones, the running back? What would you say to that, Ryan? You're a linebacker, right? Or a safety. Like, who worries you more in the backfield behind Jordan Love?
I mean, you're not going to like my answer, I don't think. Maybe Aaron Jones, though. Aaron Jones is more shifty. Aaron Jones is a better pass catcher. I mean, you could line him up really anywhere on the field. He's probably Green Bay's best wide receiver last year, the first 8 weeks of
For
the
sure.
season. So I might say Aaron Jones. I mean, Jonathan Taylor is great. Can I just tell you it's not even a knock on Jonathan Taylor. What concerns me when you say he's 24 years old, you just said it, like he wouldn't have to take on that workload in Green Bay, but his rookie year, he had 232 carries.
Yep.
His second season in the league, he had 332 carries. Last season, he was injured, 192 carries. Okay, that's a big workload for a 3-year sample size. Let's go all the way back to 2017 when he's a freshman at Wisconsin, 299 carries. 2018 as a sophomore, 307 rushing attempts. 2019 as a junior, Sparky, 320. He had 926 rushing attempts at Wisconsin, 756 rushing attempts already in the pros. So yeah, he's 24 years old, but find me the next 21, 22-year-old and we'll plug and play that thing every 3-4 years. I hate to be that guy because I want to see running backs get paid, but let a stupid organization pay Jonathan Taylor all that money, or let him go to Miami. Great fit with Mike McDaniel. Although the more I think about it, man, Mike McDaniel, I know he was the run game coordinator in San Francisco. I don't know if that's a great fit for Jonathan Taylor. Maybe anywhere is a great fit for Jonathan Taylor. But yeah, sorry, I would not trade for Jonathan Taylor.
I looked at Aaron Jones' stats while you were doing the stats on Jonathan Taylor. Aaron Jones had 213 attempts last year and 2 touchdowns. He had 171 attempts the year prior to that and 4 touchdowns. 201 attempts in 2020 and 9 touchdowns. Career year in 2019 was 236 carries and 16 touchdowns. As far as touchdowns go, career year, not necessarily yards. Averages per carry, 4.6, 5.5, 4.7, 5.3. So right there in that range. But he ain't close to 300 carries. And there's no way Jonathan Taylor, because of what you just said, Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst, they know how many carries he had at Wisconsin, and they know your body is only going to take so many hits before it starts retreating itself, going, dude, we're done. Like, we're done. I'm not coming back from that hit, or whatever the case may be. So I think he'll probably average closer to like 215 to 220 carries. But again, that's going to add up quick. In those years that you were reading Jonathan Taylor, in 2017 for the Packers, Aaron Jones had 81 carries. In 2018, he had 133 carries. And in 2019, he had 236 carries. Yeah. So while he was doing that at Wisconsin, Jones was in the NFL taking a heck of a lot less beating than he was in college.
Like, God bless the new Wisconsin offense. Although I'll tell you, man, I really like the under this weekend because I know we're thinking that we're going to see this air raid offense, but how much are you really going to show against Buffalo, who I think is going to be terrible this season? And you still have Braylon Allen. But yeah, they just ran him into the ground. One more thing on this, another reason I wouldn't trade for Jonathan Taylor has nothing to do with the money. Kind of has something to do with the money, though. I would rather wait. It's a passing league. I would rather wait. I mean, even look at the fantasy drafts other than Christian McCaffrey. It's all wide receivers going in early rounds, right? So I would rather wait for that pissed off wide receiver week 7, week 8, make a deal for him.
Mike Evans.
Season, throw a bunch of money at a veteran wide receiver like a T. Higgins who might be available, even though you could have drafted him. I know people hate when I bring that up. But just because Dobbs is already hurt, Christian Watson, I don't trust to stay healthy all season long, and he still does have some drops, right? So we're excited about these guys, but man, I would love Justin Jefferson. Not that we're going to get him, but you know what I mean. I mean, who knows though? AJ Brown, did you think he was going to go to Philadelphia and Tyreek Hill will be playing in Miami? So rather than like make a deal for Jonathan Taylor, and I know we're going to get to the financial thing here in a second, and pay him all this money, make him the highest paid running back, that would make me mad because I would have rather them a year ago not upset Devontae Adams when he was the best receiver in the league. And you could bring up his age, 30, 31, but I would rather have a very good Devontae Adams up until 34, 35 than a running back until 26. So
you bring up wide receiver. Right. Mike Evans apparently is going to be that guy that's going to get traded probably at the deadline because he wants a new deal. Now, again, he's older, right? I mean, he's not 24 like Jonathan Taylor, but he's been in the league. He's been consistent. He's been good. I don't think Goody's going to trade for him because I think he's too old and they don't think they're close enough necessarily to go trade for a veteran wideout to kind of put him over the hump at this point. And wide receiver, athletically and from a talent perspective, is probably the best position on the roster right now.
Yeah. I mean, man, Mike Evans is damn good. He made Johnny Manziel look good at Texas A&M. Last season, him and Brady couldn't get on the same page. He's also a really good teammate, when Brady got hit that one time, he's fighting, getting kicked out of the game. But
put me down for the Jets for Mike Evans at the deadline.
Most likely. But that's what I would want. See, I would get excited. I might even buy a jersey. Even though I know he's another year older, but Mike Evans, I would get excited for. I'd say absolutely. A running back, nah. I'm good with what they have, to be honest. I'm good with. Okay. Yeah, I'm not the biggest AJ Dillon fan, but I mean, if the offensive line stays healthy, that's the thing, man. I mean, they could pass block last year, but they got to improve on the run blocking. So I'm good with what they have.
All right, let's move to number 2. What would you give up for Jonathan Taylor if you were going to give up something for Jonathan Taylor at this point? Now, I said I'm all in on getting something for Jonathan Taylor. And if it's me, I'm all for giving up A.J. Dillon and something for Jonathan Taylor. I think I want Jonathan Taylor and Aaron Jones for 1 year together. I just kind of want to see what it looks like. I would be fine with Jonathan Taylor and A.J. Dillon for 1 year. But I don't think you can go Taylor, Dillon, and Jones. So I think one of those two backs have to go back to Indy in that deal. And then probably a second or a third round pick, something like that. Maybe it's Dillon and a third or Dillon and a second or something along those lines. And I don't know if Indy would even take it because Irsay has lost his mind. But that would be something I would be kind of intrigued by offering. I don't think I'm willing to give up a number 1 pick. Even though you may have 2 number 1 picks, because if Rodgers plays, we know 65% of the time they get the Jets 1. Even with 2 number 1 picks, I still don't want to give up a number 1 pick for Jonathan Taylor because this team is still young and still needs higher end talent to fill holes. See the safety position, obviously. And there's not going to be a lot of safeties. It doesn't appear in the first round next year as of right now, even though we're just starting the college football season. But these early mock drafts, I think I've seen 1 safety in the mock drafts. That safety in Minnesota last night, that was pretty good. So for me, I would say A.J. Dillon and like a second or a third would probably be something I'd go along with. If they don't want a running back and they're like, no, we just want picks, then you want something accumulative to a first is what they're asking for. And I think a 3 and a 5 is accumulative to a first, or 2 and a 5 is cumulative first, something like that. However, those numbers add up. I'd be okay with that too, but I'm not giving up a straight up first round pick for him.
No, I'm probably not giving up. Like, I would take Jonathan Taylor if it was a 3rd or 4th round pick, probably a 4th round pick, as crazy as that sounds. I mean, Green Bay could have drafted Jonathan Taylor. I mean, they also could have, I don't know if I told you this, Sparky, drafted T. Higgins, but Higgins.
So who would they have had instead of Jonathan Taylor so you're saying they had Jonathan Taylor on the board and they didn't draft him, right?
Well, so I mean, they would have had to take him at pick 26. They took Jordan Love, and Jonathan Taylor went in the 2nd round, pick 41. So, pretty high. But here's what I'm asking you, right? If you wanted Jonathan Taylor that bad, Jonathan Taylor went 41 to Indianapolis. A.J. Dillon went 62 to Green Bay. Do you think they could have traded up if they really, if they had this 1st round or 2nd round grade? They had this grade on Jonathan Taylor. We wanted him so bad. Do you think he could have moved up for him?
But Ryan, remember, they moved up in the 1st round and gave up assets to go get your boy Jordan Love. So because you already moved up once, I can't imagine he was moving up a second time. And further remember that when they took A.J. Dillon, as mad as people were about the Jordan Love pick, people were just as pissed off about the A.J. Dillon pick because they're like, we don't need a damn running back. We didn't need a quarterback. We don't need a running back. What are we doing? Do you remember how mad everybody was? People were mad on Thursday. They come back on Friday like, okay, now, here we go. Get a wide receiver for Aaron. And they go A.J. Dillon, and people lost their minds. Like, what are they doing? But, I mean, so there's no way he would have traded up for Taylor. No chance.
Here's where... No chance you're giving up a 1st round pick for a running back. So would you be mad if next year Green Bay drafted a running back in the 2nd round? Do you think the fans
Well, you got to tell me what the scenario is. So Jones is gone into free agency, and you essentially have to have a running back?
I'm just trying to justify why I wouldn't give up a 2nd round pick for Jonathan Taylor at 24 years old, because this is my point. I would rather draft a running back in the 4th or 5th round who's 21, 22. Sure, he's not going to be Jonathan Taylor, but he could be damn good. I mean, like Tyler Algier, nobody even knew who the hell he was for Atlanta. Everybody talked about Patterson all season long. And Algier broke the Atlanta Falcon rushing record.
And then they took a running back in the 1st round, though. So obviously they weren't that sold.
So, yeah. So, but like, that's, so, I mean, if it's like a game-changing back, Jonathan, I don't know, man. I don't know if Jonathan Taylor moves the needle for me. He's great. He's a great player. I think I would only do a 3rd or 4th round pick. I don't even think I would do it 2. Maybe I'm crazy.
I'll say this. If you're Aaron Rodgers and you're watching this, you watch Goody go get all these athletic, fast receivers for Jordan Love. He gets a stud tight end. It appears in Musgrave if he doesn't drop the ball every other throw. At tight end, that's going to be a difference maker with his speed. Kraft looks like he'll probably be a solid run blocker and a decent pass catcher. So they've added that. The offensive line, he doesn't really miss all that much on usually. Royce Newman might be the exception. But for the most part, he really doesn't miss on the offensive line. If they went and got Jonathan Taylor in his prime and paid him, so now he's got a stud back in the backfield who had 18 touchdowns 2 years ago, plus all these young guys around him, and Taylor's only 24. If I'm Jordan Love, yes, I love Aaron Jones. And Goody called Aaron Jones the heart and soul of the Packers. And if I'm Aaron Jones' agent, I was like, I'll take that clip and play that back for Goody in contract negotiations. But he called him the heart and soul of the team. But if it's Taylor back there, literally, he's your highest paid player on offense because Bakhtiari is going to be gone. Jones will be gone if they get Jonathan Taylor because they have to pay Jonathan Taylor. And then Jordan Love is going to get what? I don't know, $25 million a year, something like that, $30 million a year when they give him his extension. Still not $50 million a year like Rodgers. And you go from that standpoint, and for the next 4 years, let's say 4 years, that will make Taylor 28, somewhere around that area. That offense is going to be young, fast, and in their prime with no issues of contracts or anything else going forward. And they're set, Ryan Horvat. Doesn't that excite you? Doesn't that make you happy?
I mean, it's not going to happen.
Nothing.
We've done this.
Nothing at all.
Well, because here's the thing. Why would I get myself excited when a couple of years ago I was excited for Odell Beckham Jr.? He ends up going to the Rams. Yes. They win a Super Bowl.
Fair.
Why would I get excited when, granted, you would have had to trade Aaron Rodgers, but Brett Favre wanted Randy Moss. Randy Moss would have played in Green Bay. Doesn't happen. Yeah. Why would I get excited when all you had to frickin' give up was a third-round pick for Tony Gonzalez? You don't do that, and then he goes and has 3 or 4 more good years in Atlanta. So I know how this goes. This is why I post the Gudikins hashtag in the mix. The Packers are always in the mix for this. They're always making this call. No, the Packers don't get Jonathan Taylor. They don't get DeAndre Hopkins. They don't get A.J. Brown. They get Rasul Douglas and Devondre Campbell, man. That's who we get, okay? So I'm not going to get excited and have all these big dreams. And even if they did get Jonathan Taylor, LaFleur would probably drop Jordan Love back 45 times, go to the podium with tears in his eyes and be like, oh, I got to be better. All right, that's on me. I got to get Jonathan Taylor the football. So I don't even know that I want Jonathan Taylor because is LaFleur going to give him the ball?
All right, let's go on to topic number 3. How much would you be willing to pay Jonathan Taylor? Because Josina Anderson, again, saying that, according to her sources, Miami and the Packers already said that they're aiming to make him the highest paid running back. Now, again, a lot of people believe her sourcing on all of this is Taylor's agent. Very well could be, in which case he wants to put all of that out there if that's who her source is. I have no idea who her source is. I've only talked to her, I think, twice, and both times we're at the combine when she sat at our table. But outside of that, that's the extent of my relationship with Josina Anderson. So let's talk about this from this perspective. Could they afford to make him the highest paid back in the NFL and be okay on this with this current roster, knowing Bakhtiari is going to be gone here in the next year or so? I say yes, they could. Now, would I pay him $16 million a year? No chance. No way. No how. Could they justify it because of how cheap this offense is going to be? With all of these young players for the next 3 or 4 years, I think they could justify it and make sense. And when Taylor's contract's up, okay, now I got to pay Watson. Now I got to pay Dobbs. Now I got to pay Musgrave. But by that time, he's 28, 29. See ya. Good luck to you in your future endeavors. You're still out before he's 30, and everybody wins, and they have a great run for 3 or 4 years. So I can justify it from Goody's perspective. I, Steve Sparky Fifer, would never pay that dude $16 million a year myself. 12? Maybe 12. But not 16. That seems to be an awful lot for me.
No, same. If you weren't going to make Devontae Adams the highest paid receiver 2 years ago, why the hell are you going to make Jonathan Taylor the highest paid running back? No, this is my point. No, because that's not the way to do it in the NFL. I mean, when's the last time that a Super Bowl champion even had a 1,000-yard rusher? I think there's this stat that's out there. I mean, Isaiah Pacheco last season for Kansas City. You know what I mean? It's right. A passing league. So Jonathan Taylor to Green Bay, I don't think that doesn't win him a Super Bowl. I would rather have that money to spend on another stud pass rusher. And I love Rashawn Gary, and we'll see what we have and all these other guys, but I would rather pay a pass rusher. Maybe you're going to need to pay a safety here, a wide receiver. I couldn't pay a running back $16 million a year. Not Jonathan Taylor. I couldn't do it. I also, though, like, while I say this, I would still be excited if they did decide to do it, which is funny, because I just don't think it's the smart thing to do. And
2006, I just looked it up. 2016 Patriots were the last team with a 1,000-yard rusher.
Thank you. Yeah. That's what I mean, though. You know what I mean? So
it's a long time. That was LeGarrette Blount with 1,161 yards.
And Jordan Love looks so good. I mean, the offense looks. I'm more worried about the defense, honestly. I'm worried about youth. Obviously, this is the youngest team in the National Football League. But if Joe Barry isn't a complete scrub, and he gets those guys, I mean, if they play, more press man coverage, they get more physical, they get after the quarterback. It's all about takeaways, man.
Yep.
They could be top 10 in the league in takeaways. Then I think they win 11, 12 games. So I don't think they need Jonathan Taylor. I'd rather, this team, they're pretty smart financially. Let's be honest, they're pretty cheap. So this would actually kind of anger me a little bit if they're going to spend all that money on a running back. And I think Goot's too smart. I'm calling cap on this, Sparky. I think these are lies. I do not believe Josina Anderson. I think this is all coming from Jonathan Taylor's agent. I'm not saying they didn't.
She's just reporting what she's being told. It's not like she's making stuff up.
Do their due diligence and make phone calls. I guarantee Goot made a phone call. Hell yeah, we'll take Jonathan Taylor. I have a hard time believing that all of a sudden Green Bay is going to make him the highest paid running back in the league. Right?
I agree. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yes, totally agree with you. That's why a lot of people think the Josina source is an agent, probably.
I'm like Ken Ingalls. Aren't they in like cap hell still from Rogers' deal, or are they fine too? Like, aren't we?
No,
I think in the business of spending money right now. Or are we in the business of like trying to save with this young ass team?
I think,
and then win in 2 years.
I think I just saw. Nah, you're gonna make me good look. I think Ingalls said, and Ken Ingalls, by the way, if you don't follow him on Twitter, he's kind of like the Twitter cap guy, I guess is that how you would call him? I don't know.
Yeah, but capologist.
He a cap guy. So he kind of goes through all this and he understands the CBA far better than I do to understand all of this. Let's see. Packers already created $54.4 million of cap space early this offseason through restructures and pay cuts. They are down to about $6.2 million of effective cap space for this upcoming 2023 season, with a handful of ways of getting a few million more outside of cutting and trading veterans. So as of right now, they sit $6 million under the cap going into the season, the Green Bay Packers.
And I know that, this isn't going to carry over, but what I'm saying is I just don't know that this is the season that you go all in and you spend a bunch of money. Like, look what the Chicago Bears are doing. I actually think what Ryan Poles is doing is pretty smart, the way that he's spending his money. I would just rather just see what you have with these young guys and kind of evaluate. Because I think, and who knows? I mean, you got a bunch of first-round picks on defense, right?
Yep.
Jordan Love isn't this. He shouldn't be this project. We can't treat him like he's this project. He's not. He's a first-round pick. You traded up in the first round to get him. And he knows the offense. I don't think they need Jonathan Taylor. That's my answer.
All right, last one. Before we wrap this thing up, Ryan Horvat, of course, BetMGM tonight, weeknights, part of the BetQL Radio Network, with Nick Ashu and Trista Crick when she's on the show. She hasn't been on the show much, but every time I've tuned in. But either way. Also, check out BetQL Tailgate Kickoff. That's Saturday mornings, 8 a.m. Central Time on 12:50 a.m. The Fan. He's on all the BetQL stations, but since a majority of our fans are probably in Milwaukee, that's why I promote it that way. Ryan Horvat, on Fridays, I'd like to do maybe your one or two picks that you like for people going into the weekend. Now, this weekend, obviously, is college football. And we have to start with the Badgers because there's all this excitement for the Badgers as they get ready to take on Buffalo this weekend. The first time the fan base for Wisconsin will get to see this air raid offense for Wisconsin under Luke Fickell and Phil Longo. Expectations going into this week.
All right, so I love the Badgers this season, over 8.5 wins. I think the West comes down to that game with them in Iowa, and Iowa doesn't even know if Cade McNamara, their quarterback, is going to be available week 1. But I like Wisconsin. They're huge favorites, though.
It's 27.5 or something crazy like that. Yeah.
So I what I actually did here, I don't know if they win by 4 touchdowns. I took the under in the game. I do think they win pretty handily. I don't like Buffalo this season. And I know that we're going to see the air raid offense, and you have Tanner Mordecai coming over from SMU. But you also still have Braylon Allen, who had 230 carries last year for over 1,200 yards and 11 touchdowns. You also have Chaz Malusi there still as well, who had 473 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns, and a pretty good offensive line. You are 45th in the country in rushing offense, averaging 180 a game. So while they're going to throw the ball a lot against this Buffalo defense that gave up almost 400 yards last season and only brings back 5 starters, I don't know that they're going to want to show a whole lot. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like Buffalo. They bring back their quarterback, Cole Snyder, both running backs, but their offense only averaged 377 yards per game. Wisconsin on defense brings back 8 starters, and it's Luke Fickell as the head coach. We know what he does. He coaches defense.
But but remember, it's Jim Tressel as defensive coordinator. They're not running the same defense that they ran under Jim Leonard. It's not the 3-4 anymore. And the problem that Tressel had in Cincinnati was stopping the run with their defense over the course of time. Now, Buffalo, okay, it doesn't really matter. But when you get into Big Ten football, where these teams do run the football, most of them run it particularly well. That's going to be the big question for Wisconsin is, can they stop the run when they get to Big Ten play?
Right, exactly. And that's why this week, I don't think they're going to have any worries. They should win this game. They might even cover the spread, to be honest. They're going to look really good, I think, because, again, I don't like Buffalo. Their win total is 7. They won 7 games last season. I think that they go under this year. But I like Wisconsin a lot this year. And that's a good point, though. I mean, if you're not able to stop the run in the Big Ten, you might be in trouble, especially with the teams I like, right? I mean, Iowa has a really good running back. And, you know, I don't know. If you have big dreams like the Big Ten title game, you have to face off against Michigan. You got Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards there. If you play Penn State, you got Nick Singleton there.
I'm not in on Penn State. I know I've seen people picking Penn State to go to the playoff and win the Big Ten. No, we'll see.
No, I mean, I don't like James Franklin at all.
I'm not as much of a fan of James Franklin either. I'm curious to see how this all plays out.
The game of the week. So I usually would have a bunch of bets, but I have so much money on one game this week that I don't really have a whole lot of funds for anything else. So I got the Wisconsin under, but the game of the week comes on Sunday night, Florida State, LSU. There was a 3 available. Florida State now a 2-point dog, 2.5-point dog in some shops. Maybe wait, see if you could get a 3. I think they should be favored in this game by 2 points. LSU is going to be without their running back, John Emery, which really doesn't matter because they have a loaded backfield. They got Josh Williams and Noah Cain there. Noah Cain scored a touchdown against Florida State last year. But their bigger loss is going to be Mason Smith, who's their 6'6", 315-pound defensive tackle. Mike Norvell, I'm not a Brian Kelly guy. I'm a big Notre Dame fan, obviously. Go Irish, baby. Sam Hartman season. But I can tell you this. Mike Norvell has faced off against Brian Kelly 3 times. He's covered the spread all 3 times. He's coached circles around Brian Kelly all 3 times. I like Florida State. They're going to get really creative on offense. They got this kid, Johnny Wilson. He's 6'7". He could be a power forward. They have a Michigan State transfer, Keon Coleman. Both of those guys were really good. Both had about 800 receiving yards last season. Their quarterback, Jordan Travis, is a Heisman candidate, only threw 5 picks. They could run the ball. Trey Benson's back at running back, 900 rushing yards last season. Their offensive line has over 200 career starts. LSU could not run the ball against Florida State last year. I think Florida State's the better team. I think they should be favored. So I'm grabbing the points. I'll be rooting against Brian Kelly. I'm always rooting against the SEC. Go Noles! I think we tried to cancel this, but everybody's still doing it, so I'm going to do it. Don't at me.
Does that mean that we're going to be seeing like a Florida State flag or something tweeted out by you at some point on Sunday? Because that was your thing last year. Every Saturday morning, you tweet on some meme or some gif of whoever that was his big bet for the weekend. Every weekend, you just go to Horvat's Twitter on Saturday morning and you'll be like, okay, that's where he's putting his money. Okay, I guess I will too. And you just roll with Horvat. And more times than not, you're going to win.
You know what? That's actually, I didn't even think of that. I'm going to do that right now. Should I go with Chris Winkie or Charlie Ward as my
Leroy
Twitter
Butler?
Ooh.
Yes. It's Leroy Butler, duh. I mean, that's easy. Leroy at Florida State.
I wasn't really alive when he was at
I don't care. You got to do it. You absolutely got to do. It's funny. I was talking to him and Gary about this whole Jonathan Taylor thing, and they were both saying the same thing. They're in the mix for everybody. Sparky, don't overreact. You're getting all worked up over nothing. Stop. They talk to everybody, and like you said, they never actually get anything done at the end of the day. Ryan Horvat, big plans for Labor Day weekend other than doing your show Saturday morning from 8 to 9. You can hear it on the Fan in Milwaukee Central Time.
BetQL Tailgate Kickoff. Check that out on Saturday morning. If you're a fan of Kelly in Vegas, she'll be on it, the second segment. And then we're going to have my guy Chase Kitty on, give all the picks. Saturday, I'm going to sit and watch college football. Sunday, going to sit and watch college football. Monday, going to sit and watch college football. Oh, one more. I like Clemson against Duke. I like Clemson a lot this season. We got Clemson Duke on Monday night. So nothing but football all weekend long. I will not leave this couch. That's my vow.
I mean, your wife, I said it last year. Like, I just, God bless her. I mean, she's really single every weekend. If somebody's looking to go on a date out in Ryan's area, I mean, she's available. You know, she's got to take the kid with. But other than that, she's pretty much available every weekend because Horvat doesn't leave his damn couch all weekend long. And now it's 3 days of sitting. Do you at least like fire up the grill and like grill for the family or anything while the games are on? Or do you make her like do all the cooking all the weekend too?
No. I'll bring out the grill. Sometimes I'll like get things catered on a Saturday. We'll do some barbecue.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, you got to do it big. I'm not leaving the couch. I'm betting games all day. No, yeah.
See, oh my gosh, you're amazing. He is Ryan Horvat. Follow him on Twitter, of course, at Ryan Horvat. Follow me, Sparky Radio. Download Current and Long Podcasts on your Odyssey app, or if you download your favorite podcast ad. And of course, you can also catch us on the Odyssey Sports YouTube page. We stream all of these anytime I have a co-host. Now, for instance, the last Green and Growing podcast I did on Thursday, I had no co-host. I did it by myself. That's not on the Odyssey Sports YouTube page. Nobody wants to look at me and only me for 30 minutes, so I don't do that. Ryan, have a good weekend, my friend. Enjoy it, and we will talk to you later. Have a good one, everybody. Have a happy Labor Day weekend. Toodles!